Waiver wires are now done, and you don't always get what you want or what you need, but it's a chance to rebound. Here are the most dropped players that we think are a little bit interesting, and the best of what's left as we look at the fantasy football waiver wire rebound. Hello, Deeds, in the chat. Thanks for stopping in today. As always, sir, greatly appreciated. Hello, hello. And thank you to all of you for watching this as we try to recover maybe from a waiver wire period that didn't necessarily go your way. Tuesday, Wednesday, not the only day that we can help out the fantasy team. So today, going to look at the waiver wire rebound. We've done this a couple of weeks in a row, looking at the best available, I guess, and looking at who was the most dropped in fantasy football and seeing if we can maybe get a little bit of value out of that. We will start with what we like out of the most dropped group. And at quarterback, it is JJ McCarthy. He is the second most dropped on Yahoo, and I think he has a really good matchup against the Bears, and he's been pretty serviceable. It's all over the place, and it can be up and down, but I think he is more than an acceptable option if you missed out on your streaming candidate or anything like that. So I think JJ McCarthy really has an opportunity to be a bit of a hidden gem for you in fantasy here this week. At wide receiver, it is Matthew Golden. He was the sixth most dropped wide receiver on Yahoo. It's a cake matchup against the Giants. I get that they haven't really been able to click in the dominant way that we wanted this offense to all season long, but I think it's a real opportunity here and a pretty good lottery ticket if you missed out on some of the wide receiver targets in the fantasy market. At running back, Jordan Mason, fifth most dropped running back on Yahoo. Again, I don't understand why people are bailing on this guy when you have the oft-injured Aaron Jones in front of him. Mason's still getting some looks in this offense and gets a real opportunity if something happens to Aaron Jones. At tight end, it's Dalton Kincaid, the most dropped tight end on Yahoo. He is considered week to week by Buffalo, but if there's a chance he can come back this season, this could be a really, really good ad. If you can afford a roster spot, I think this could be a potential league winner if he does come back in a reasonable time frame. And on the defensive side, very surprised by this one. It's the Cleveland Browns, the second most dropped defense on Yahoo. I think that this is, again, it's a tough matchup this week because you are playing the Baltimore Ravens, but they are one of the best defenses in the NFL. And after this, they get Vegas, San Francisco, and Tennessee. So a pretty good opportunity for this defense to shine for fantasy football owners, and I think they can really step up for a lot of people and maybe even just kind of keep the head above water against a good Baltimore offense this week. So those are the best of the most dropped players in fantasy. We have a question here in the chat. It is from Deeds. Deeds, we'll get to that question here in just a second. By the way, if you're like Deeds, have some lineup questions, fire them away in whatever chat you are watching here and or in the comments after, and I will answer all of those to the best that I can. So let's take a look at the best of what's still available. We do a waiver wire segment here every week, and the cutoff is 35% owned. Anything above, you can figure it out. But below, we're trying to find some of those hidden gems, and we're going to keep that for the best still available here. So if you missed out on them, he was our waiver wire claim, our streaming option of the week at quarterback. It's Jacoby Brissett, 26% owned. He's been okay in relief of Kyler Murray, now facing a beat-up San Francisco 49ers defense. I think he has a chance to have a pretty good fantasy week. I'm trusting him in one of my leagues. I don't get how he is only 26% owned. I think it's a pretty good opportunity here for Arizona. Again, if you missed out on one of your targets at quarterback, it's a pretty good bounce-back spot for him. At wide receiver, we're going to stay with Christian Watson. He was actually one of the more dropped wide receivers this week. And again, it's a good matchup against the Giants. You don't know where they're spreading the ball around to, but I wouldn't be scared away by a couple of rough games to get things going for him this season. A couple of targets that I think we really want to put some pressure on here. Jaden Higgins from the Houston Texans, 15% owned. He had a dud against the Broncos, but has 16 targets in the last 3 games. Pretty good matchup with the Titans this week, and a few more to close the season. So this is I think a guy that we talked about it with Dalton Schultz yesterday. It's an offense that's getting a little bit better. and an offense that's starting to step up a little bit. And I think Higgins is starting to as well. So again, one target a couple of weeks ago against the Broncos, but in between, around that, it was 8 targets and 7 targets. I think he's going to be pretty good, and it's a really good matchup here against the Titans. And then Michael Wilson, just before we came on, Marvin Harrison Jr. was announced that he was out for this game. Michael Wilson going up against a pretty good matchup with the 49ers. He had 7 targets last week. Again, Jacoby Brissett is his quarterback, just keeps the trains running on time. So I think there could be some value gained with Michael Wilson at 96% available in Yahoo leagues. At running back, kind of the ones we talked about before in the waiver wire segment all still apply. Bam Knight, one of the most dropped running backs of the week. I don't get it. Double-digit touches in each of the last 4 weeks, facing a beat-up 49ers defense. And I get DeMarcado has looked like the better guy in a couple of weeks, but Knight is still getting his opportunities. And I think there is some value there for him. Bigsby, 23% owned. It's a handcuff play for Saquon Barkley. Blake Corum, he's had at least 12 touches in each of the last 3 weeks. He is a part of the game plan, and certainly could be a go-to guy if something happens with Kyron Williams. And Sean Tucker, that ownership percentage went up since we talked about it in the waiver wire show yesterday, but double-digit touches the last 2 weeks, facing a Bills defense that has struggled against the run this year, and he's still 13% available. So I would look to see if that guy is still out there in your league. The new one that we didn't talk about yesterday was Kenneth Gainwell, 32% owned for the Steelers. No carries last week. He's definitely the pass-catching back for Pittsburgh, but they have a great matchup here against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think that this could be an opportunity for Gainwell and a lot of players on the Steelers this week to have some pretty good fantasy nights. So again, if we missed out on any running back options, I think Kenny Gainwell, pretty good fallback plan for you there. And then at tight end, it is Luke Musgrave, 12% owned. Not a big debut, or I guess maybe not debut, but in his first opportunity with no Tucker Kraft, he didn't really shine, but that was a defensive battle. I don't think you're going to get that against the Giants this week, so I think still a pretty good opportunity for Musgrave to have a bounce back game. And then at defense, the waiver wire one that we suggested was Atlanta. Still available, still applies. They're right at that 35% threshold. There's not a lot of great options. Carolina's not a terrible matchup, so I think you can do something with that one. The opposite side of it, I think Carolina, that they are kind of our new rebound pick here. They are 29% owned right now. They played pretty well against the Falcons the last time, who have been a little bit inconsistent. So I think there could be, if you are absolutely desperate, I think there could be an opportunity for them there as well. So those are some of the waiver wire rebounds that we are going to be looking for, trying to take advantage of everyone just being, all right, waiver wire period, done, let's go, we're fine. So yeah, check those out. And again, if you have any questions, we're going to do a lot more fantasy football talk as the stream goes on today and as the week goes on for podcast listeners and for those on YouTube. So if you have any questions at all, get them into the chat or leave a comment. And if you have any thoughts on any of the guys who I just suggested, let me know in the comments as well. And share this video with the folks in your league. I know you want to keep a great secret, all the fantasy football stuff that we got here, but we would love to kind of keep this stuff going and do a lot more in the fantasy football space. Just need a few more people paying attention. So if you could share this video, that would help me out immensely.